We are talking about the horror anthology movie Blood Clots. And now this one is actually available now on Amazon and Vimeo, and it's a collection of 7 short movies. Now, I have to say, when watching anthologies previously, you normally get a kind of a mixed bag where you'll get a few good ones, a few mediocre ones, and a few not so good ones. I will say this one, I've got to say, this is the first time in recent memory I consider there's an anthology with no duds. None of these movies are bad. Some of them are a little bit forgettable, but we'll come on to it. But there are no bad ones. So it's actually quite a pretty decent little anthology, especially if you are a gore type horror fan. There's lots of gory goodness here. This isn't one of the more cerebral kind of anthology movies. This is just your basic kind of like monsters with lots of gore and effects and stuff like that, rather than the kind of somewhat more cerebral anthology movies that you may have got with things, you know, which have a little more twists and stuff like that, and we'll come on to it. So this is no kind of wraparound story, it is just 7 short films. This is what they kind of do in anthologies. Rather than making films specifically for an anthology, it'll just be a collection of directors' short movies that obviously they kind of want to shop around to try and get work. So this is one of them. So we'll kind of go through it. The first one is called Hell of a Day, which is an Australian zombie movie. This one directed by Evan Hughes, and I've got to say, when you first watch this is the first one, it comes across as pretty damn good. They do a great job in a short amount of time, giving you a very kind of atmospheric, kind of like zombie apocalypse, where you do get a really great dread sense of danger. There's some great use of kind of audio effects here and the way the zombies kind of scream, and it focuses on this one female survivor who, in a world of a zombie apocalypse, comes across this kind of like, I think it's like a convenience store or something, and she kind of holds up in there, but she ends up getting kind of trapped in the basement and ultimately has to deal with being trapped in there and the kind of the isolation, as well as the fact that obviously there's kind of zombies up on there. But it's well done. The zombies look good. There's some pretty kind of like nasty kind of gore shots. And I've got to say, what I liked about this one in particular was just the kind of the world building. In a very short amount of time, you got a great sense of what was going on and obviously the danger that this kind of world represents. I felt the ending was potentially a little weak. It tried to have not exactly a twist, but I don't know. The ending was a little weak for me, but overall it was a pretty good one. Never Tear Us Apart was the next one, which is one of the shortest movies here. It's one I've actually seen on another anthology at some point. So this is the only one that I feel that I have seen that's been doubled up, and it's essentially a kind of like a cannibal story, which is basically setting up one joke. This one's basically got a punchline at the end of the kind of story, and the whole thing is just setting up this one joke. I feel it works pretty well, but it really is a short film just to set up this one joke. But what you do see on screen is still pretty fun. And there is one particularly nice little kill shot in this movie as well. The third one is actually a werewolf film that I actually found quite amusing, because it essentially focuses on this creepy old guy who does some kind of like weird porn thing called European Doggers, and I thought it was hilarious. It's got this like, they've got this real dirty looking guy to kind of like, he brings out this kind of like young Romanian girl to this kind of like dogging meet-up point. And if you're not in the UK, you may not know what dogging is, but it's essentially where people kind of go and have sex in public and other people watch and things like that. Yes, what they do here in the UK, what can I tell you? Anyway, he brings this kind of young Romanian girl, and she has a dark secret that is revealed upon the full moon, in case you can't guess. Now, what I liked about this movie is it kind of plays tongue-in-cheek, and there are some kind of like side gags here, particularly involving genitalia, that's all I was saying. The way they use the werewolves, so you never really get a good look, but you'll see flashes and stuff. And of course they looked quite impressive, I've got to say. And I thought it was quite good and quite funny as well. It's kind of, yeah, a little bit of a kind of tongue-in-cheek, this one. Any criticisms with this one? The girl, who they played, this Romanian girl, I didn't think was the best actor. She doesn't have a lot of lines, but she's not particularly great, doesn't come across particularly great. And the werewolf transformation scene, even though we don't really see it, seems a little quick. It just seems she's a human and then bam, she's a werewolf straight away. But I guess in a short film, you've not got time to lose, have you? Time to Eat. Out of all of them, this was possibly the weakest. It's not bad, it's just there's not much to it. This is more of a vignette than an actual story. There's no actual dialogue in this movie, and I can't really tell you too much because it will ultimately give the whole thing away. It essentially is a creature feature, I guess you would say. They try to have a little twist to it, but there's really not much to talk about that one. It's not bad, but like I said, there's just not a lot to it. It's more of just a little gag again. It's a little, you know, a short kind of few-minute film with just that's leading up to one particular kind of like gag payoff. Then we have another zombie one called Still. Now this one really does remind me of Shaun of the Dead. This is a kind of a British zombie film, and again it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek one. And this one basically we have another zombie apocalypse. Maybe it's the same one as the first film. But we have this guy who is a street entertainer, and he's one of those people that essentially kind of stands still for ages. He's all kind of dressed up in body paint, and it kind of acts like a statue and will occasionally move. And because he's standing there, the zombies don't realise he's a real person. And this guy's kind of standing around and kind of trying to figure out how he's going to get out of this zombie apocalypse whilst pretty much everyone around him is going to get eaten up. And yeah, I actually thought it was quite a funny one. The zombies kind of seem quite cool as well. So I actually kind of quite like that one quite a bit, and I think it works. Then we come on to number 6, which is probably the biggest in regards to production. And this one's called Jellyfish. This is obviously a homage to various kind of B movies. A lot of this is on green screen, so if you're not kind of a fan of kind of green screen kind of work, then it may kind of not be your thing. But I actually thought this was quite fun. Lots of kind of CGI monsters, and we get a little bit of a prologue even on this one, where we have this kind of like this strange chemical that kind of gets unleashed and essentially transforms these jellyfish into killers, ranging from regular sized ones that seem to be super intelligent to huge giant, almost kaiju sized jellyfish. And we have a variety of characters on this kind of beachfront, and they all get attacked in many ways, and kind of lots of kind of like people getting eaten up. So it's quite fun. We get a lot of, considering this is a very short film, this is one of the slightly longer ones, but we get a lot of characters that are kind of introduced just to kind of set them up to basically be eaten. But we get a few kind of lines of dialogue, and there's obviously some kind of protagonists and antagonists, but nonetheless I thought this was actually quite an effective little short film that I feel like it could actually probably be a a real kind of feature-length movie, because I think there's enough probably story there where it could have been expanded upon. But it's quite fun. It's obviously meant to be a kind of a short, sharp shot, but the CGI is quite fun because it's kind of like almost like this 300 kind of like stylized kind of feel to it, and there's lots of kind of people getting squashed or eaten by various kind of jellyfish, and it's fairly kind of gory in a kind of a CGI way. And then the last one is called The Call of Charlie, which is a kind of probably the weirdest one. And we have this couple that are having a dinner party, and then these kind of friends turn up unexpectedly out of nowhere and then sort of interrupt their dinner party. But they seem this dinner party may have this weird guest who seems to be none other than Cthulhu, or at least a Cthulhu-looking type creature. And obviously this couple that have turned up are obviously somewhat surprised, and shenanigans ensue. So it's obviously a bit of a dark humour, this one, but yeah, it's a little weird. I don't know if it completely works, if I'm honest. I don't feel the joke is quite sold enough, if that makes sense. But the creature effects looked cool. It's really well shot. It's actually quite well acted, and there's some quite kind of neat little bits of satire here and that. I actually quite liked it, but I just maybe the actual story as a whole didn't work, but not bad. So that's your basic collection of 7 stories. It's worth a watch, I would say. I actually think this is actually a pretty good anthology, like I've mentioned. No duds, maybe a few that are average, but for the most part I enjoyed all of these films. So I would definitely check it out if you are an anthology fan. and this is coming from someone who isn't really an anthology fan at all. So I'll give this movie a 7 out of 10, and it's not a huge long movie, it's only just over an hour, so it's not a huge commitment, so you know, you can kind of enjoy this and kind of get on with your day, but still have a whole plethora of different kind of horror treats there. 7 out of 10, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.